My name is Sarah Kamango, and my topic of discussion today is going to be why governments and medical institutions should not be involved in decisions regarding the rights of terminally ill patients being able to end their lives through physician assisted suicide. Choosing how one wants to die is a fundamental liberty that should not be controlled by government. Institutions should not mandate what constitutes an honorable death. In this speech, I will argue that people should be allowed to make their own informed decisions in regards to physician assisted suicide, especially when faced with incurable terminal diseases that can cause insufferable amounts of physical and mental torment. While it is true that we have no control over our births, at least we ought to have control over our deaths. How can we claim to be free people if someone else's morals and standards govern the way we die? These are the words of Derek Humphrey, the founder of the first Rights to Die movement groups in America, the Hemlock Society. Many of us are acquainted with the Rights to Die movement through the very famous case of Dr. Kevorkian. Dr. Kevorkian was a physician who helped patients with terminal illnesses perform physician assisted suicide and ended up going to prison for a number of years because it violated the law. Dr. Kevorkian was not a member of the core Rights to Die movement and more was a lone man renegade who decided to kind of chastise government and implored them to arrest him for his actions. However, since Dr. Kevorkian, there have been other organizations that have been formed that have helped patients um, seeking to end their lives through physician assisted suicide make better informed decisions. These are the Compassion Choices and Final Exit Network organizations. There is plenty of opposition to the Rights to Die movement. The main opposition comes from religious groups who claim that ending one's life is not a decision that should be made by an individual and it should be something that is mandated by government. Um, Other opposition from the Rights to Die movement comes from the medical community, especially from doctors who have taken the Hippocratic Oath and feel that performing physician-assisted suicide would be going against their Hippocratic Oath. Other opposition is also seen from political members who use the Rights to Die movement as kind of a pawn to further their agendas with really no respect towards the civil and individual liberties that people should have in deciding on how they want to further their treatment or also end their treatment and seek alternative by having physicians administer medications that can potentially shorten their suffering and help them on to their dying process. The arguments against assisted suicide are extremely personal and strongly held, and this should be taken into account. Once again, physician-assisted suicide should only be available for people who have been deemed to be rational and who have medically determined illnesses that have no cures and who are going to unnecessarily suffer, and the end game is going to be the same. It's going to be ending with death. It's just a matter of how they choose to end their life. It can be through an honorable way where they're able to gather their friends and families around them, let them know that the time has come, or their friends and families are forced to view their family members or friends go through horrendous deaths, which most time include excruciating pain, a lot of hemorrhaging, bed sores. Therefore, people should be allowed to decide what kind of death that they want to have. Politically, the idea has been long viewed as a liberal agenda, but even this status is starting to shift. Many Americans, irrespective of political affiliation, are starting to view the issue as a personal liberty issue and thus are supportive. Um, this is also coupled with the fact that many Americans have reported that they have at one point in their lives received unnecessary medical treatment, which was not of their choosing but pushed on them by the medical societies. Thus far in America, we have 5 states that have legalized physician-assisted suicide. This includes Oregon, Montana, Washington, and Vermont. And California just recently joined these states in 2015 after the much highly publicized case of Brittany Maynard, a 29-year-old girl who had terminal brain cancer, but chose to move from her home state of California and go to Oregon, where she would be able to receive physician assisted suicide to help alleviate her pain that she was experiencing. And through this case, California residents and the Compassion Choices Network was able to lobby the California California Senate to be able to pass this law so that residents of California who are determined to be rational and sane can choose physician-assisted suicide as a form of alleviating their pain. Other international countries that have legalized physician-assisted suicide include the Netherlands, Luxembourg, and Switzerland. Most recently, the British Parliament rejected such a measure, even though 82% of their populace, as reported by BBC News, when polled, stated that they were in support of physician-assisted suicide bill being passed through their parliament. Individuals' right to die in a manner deemed fit by them is a very personal and private issue, and public institutions should not be the guardians determining what is fit. There are no moral absolutes in society, and when faced with dilemmas, societies make exceptions. For example, killing for self-defense, or even the more controversial death penalty, where the state condones killings, are examples where we have people, sanctioned killing, either be it through the prison system or, for example, in the case of self-defense, defending yourself. So as with physician-assisted suicide, there should be a caveat carved out for people who are sane and who are facing terminal illnesses where there is no other way out other than a very inhumane death of pain and suffering. And people should be able to make these decisions. Of course, there are always going to be outliers, and I believe with careful screening, mental evaluation, psychologist evaluations, the medical society and government can make sure that physician-assisted deaths are not being used upon people who are not willing to die or being placed upon the less advantaged people in societies. In conclusion, physician-assisted suicide is an inalienable right that should be available to adults who have a sound state of mind and who do not wish to live in a state of terminal suffering, especially when the best medical treatments available have failed or will not provide the individual with an acceptable quality of life. As the great philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer wrote, "They tell us that suicide is the greatest piece of cowardice, that suicide is wrong, when it is quite obvious that there is nothing in the world to which every man has a more unsaleable title than to his own life and his own person." Thank you.